Hi, Joanne. How you doing? Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you okay, Mike. How are you doing?
Good. Kind of excited for tonight. It's our first time um meeting under the banner for the board report, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And for all of you guys, welcome to the board report. We bring authentic truth and real conversation to educate our viewers. Mike, the board report is a concept created with our community in mind. Can you give our viewers a breakdown on some of the key issues our viewers can expect from the board report?
Well, I mean, for instance, they're going to have access to a reoccurring recap of what uh they're not informed by. I don't know many parents who sit through 6-hour school board business meetings or workshops, and I don't know many parents who even know when those meetings are. So there's a lot that could be distributed out there in a convenient, in a truthful way, because we noticed hometown media isn't always convenient or truthful. They seem to be biased. So, I mean, obviously, we all have our favorites, and we all have like-minded values and friends who hold those values, but we want to offer another insight to what goes on in these meetings, and not just the school board. There's conflict in the hospital district, the water district. There's problems out here west of town in Fellsmere with the permits to fix the roads and the drainage and all that too. So there's a lot that goes on, and most people don't even know how many taxing districts they're subject to. It's almost ridiculous. So you should know where your money's going. So I believe that's what our viewers, they can look forward to if they tune in, um, to get the bits of information that actually mean something out of these drawn out meetings.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of meetings that go on that the parents can't attend and people can't really be involved with. But as voters, if they have a place to get and access that information, they can go to the polls with a more educated decision, understanding the topics, and they can even learn how to write in to their representatives locally. School board, we just had the school board races, the sheriff races, and we were trying to get that information out to them. So this is going to be a really good opportunity for us to have a regular place to put it all together and break it down.
I look forward to it. Tonight we're starting out with the A team, and they seem very committed to keeping us informed. I know you're going to start out with Thomas Kenny from the Sunshine Journal, who focuses on anything news related in our area nationally and locally. But his focus is sometimes the school board. He's very well informed on that. And then we have Jennifer Pippin from Moms for Liberty and Kevin McDonald, not just a former board member here for us, but New York State, I believe, also. So I look forward to it. So I'm going to get off your screen. I'm going to let you bring in Thomas, and I look forward to our discussion after our contributors.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mike. If you're just joining us now, welcome to the board report. Our first guest, is going to be and future commentator today is Thomas Kenny, editor in chief of the Sunshine Journal.
Hi, Joanne.
Hi, Thomas. How are you doing?
Fab, I guess.
Well, Thomas,
I'm fab and concerned. Yes. How are
I
you?
love having you on as a guest and having you as a commentator to the board report because you're the president of the Republican Club of Indian River, a
Yes.
member of the Republican Executive Committee, and you ran for school board in 2022, and you're a former media professional.
Yeah.
Yeah, so and now the editor in chief of the Sunshine Journal, and you're going to be covering topics related to our local school board.
Yeah, I do. We do. I do cover topics on concerning the school board. Did the elections very closely this past year. Been looking at city council. Something that Mike alluded to there in the introduction about the different taxing districts. I'm currently studying the tourism development tax because of this whole issue with a sidewalk and a boardwalk down there at Humiston Park and how it's getting funded and different things like that. So, yeah, it the news never stops. You just have to go look for it.
Yeah. So, Thomas, what I wanted to touch on today is one of the most misunderstood issues, and it seems to be the desegregation order between NAACP and the Indian River County School District. Can you share with our viewers what your current focus is on this case?
Current focus? Well, part of the current focus is found in the history. It was a desegregation order. You had black schools, you had white schools, and you were to integrate them. Um, and that was the goal until 1994. And the school system had a decision made in 67 against them. They had to desegregate the system. So if you moved two white teachers into a black school, you had to move two black teachers into a white school, so on and so forth. It was actually the origins of school choice in the state of Florida, because kids could go to any school. All they had to do was choose where to go, and then transportation had to be provided and all these different things. So a lot of the stuff that we have in our school system today with transportation stuff was almost born out of the idea of desegregating school systems, particularly in the South. There are different factors that the U.S. Government or the federal courts want you to have. I don't want to get into all that, but the gist of it was, let's integrate. Today, most of your school system, especially in Indian River County, I could say without a doubt, is integrated. It's fully integrated. So why are we still under a desegregation order? Well, in 94, things changed. The plaintiffs who brought the case originally, Sharpton et al., as it says in the court from 60s, they handed the case over to the NAACP. And one of the things that happened in 91, the local NAACP came in and said, hey, we still under this desegregation order. And the focus sort of shifted. We had desegregation. Let's bring the races together and integrate the school system. And it became about a multiculturalism and a disparity issue, which is the modern civil rights version we have today. Equity, if you will. Multiculturalism is the original equity argument. And in 94, there was also great growth in this county, so they needed to continue the desegregation order with the expansion of the school system. Vero Beach High School came in, or actually in Sebastian River High School. All that stuff happened. So, that was a big thing. And after 94, they came out with this plan. It was called the Joint Plan, 1994. There was going to be a shutdown of the Gifford High School. The kids went to Vero Beach and Sebastian River and so on and so forth. And there was a middle school system that was developed. And so you had to have the integration of all these schools as well. Once again, it's about disparities, not just integration. That's a key. That's a real key to me. And after that order happened, for about 22 years, nothing happened. Matter of fact, nothing happened so much that when the judge who sat over it, Clyde T. Atkins, passed away in 1999, nobody knew, the defendant or the plaintiff. And in 2003, I think it was, I may be off on that one, but it was in the early 2000s, the federal government actually closed the case. Think about that.
Yeah.
Think about that. So lo and behold, in 16, Susan DeAgressa and the current board at the time were like, hey, we're under this deseg order. We should go for unitary status. And they did. And the IRC NAACP said, no, you don't get it. And then they negotiated what we call the 2018 Joint Action Plan. And that's where we are today. And so there's a great editorial on the Sunshine Journal currently, written by Susan Mihiel, about more questions and answers regarding this, and how DEI is playing a really specific role in getting what they call these key performance indicators in various aspects of defined by the Joint Action Plan. And we can get more into that if you like, but that's the history of it. And it's changed. It's not about integration. I mean, 7 out of 10 kids in 2022 were minorities who were in the top 10 at Sebastian River High School. And the valedictorian was a Cuban African-American kid who was just an amazing kid who wanted to go to UF and be a medical student. So, the kids are integrated, but the thoughts and hearts of the adults running the asylum are not.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just watching the workshops. There's a lot of contention there, and it seems like the NAACP wants to run them the way they want to run them, not according to the court order. So
Well,
is it?
I they have their play they have their right to argue these things, because one of the things that you have to consider is that the joint plan is a contract between the IRC, NAACP, the plaintiff, and the school system, the defendant. And they're
Mm-hmm,
supposed to come together and negotiate the 9, 10 points in there. I think it's nine, the 9 points. There's mentoring for teachers, there's transportation, all these different things that make the desegregation order, the points of the desegregation order, to give you unitary status. And so they negotiate those things. And the NAACP is supposed to say, yes, the school system's doing this, we agree. And then they grant. If they come to an impasse on those 9 points, the judge doesn't want them coming into the courtroom. The judge is not making a decision. They have a contractual agreement to work this out amongst themselves. So the judge will say, okay, you're going to go to mediation. So they spend lots of money on mediation. They go into private talks, and they come out and they may amend that joint action plan. And when they do, they come back to the judge, say, hey, judge, we changed this plan. Now it says this. And the judge looks at both of them and goes, okay, you agree on this? We heard in mediation, you negotiated. You agree? And they say yes. And the judge usually approves it, barring that it doesn't step out of the parameters of what the feds want from desegregation. And so it's an ongoing negotiation. Actually, it's a contract, and the judge doesn't make a decision.
so that can they ever meet unitary status then? Because all they have
That's
to do is
the
bring up a new topic and change it. I mean, just with the goals that they've got set, all the data, like white people and African Americans have to equalize really. If they're taking, they have academic classes, honors classes, but that's all individualized. It depends on the student, and there are a lot of outside factors that have to do with how well that student's going to do. You can't
and
force a
that's
student to be as smart as another student.
yes, and that's the beauty of, and that's why I can encourage everyone to read Susan Mejiel's editorial, because she speaks to that issue directly. She points out how there are certain the key performance indicators are trying to federally get that federal backing of a court here in our county to manage outcomes and
Yeah.
not individual success, and not bring about equal opportunity and individual success based on equal opportunity. One of the things I've pointed out in writing about this is that, since the 2018 Joint Action Plan, and I would say even before this, there hasn't been one case of discrimination filed by a teacher or instructional staff or student at our school system, because
Mm-hmm. Because we don't
yeah,
have
we don't have that.
discrimination.
Yeah, we don't have
No.
that, and we have policy for instructional staff, students, support staff, administrative staff. We have equal opportunity for each section of employment in the school system, and it's policy 22. There's employee, and there's a very specific way. It's all federal on how to file those complaints and whatever. And so, with instructional staff and students, there's never been a complaint. And you got to ask yourself, okay, the school system behaves perfectly integrated, because it is.
It is.
But this case does not. The people on
Mm.
this are not. And it's so evident in the fact that you have the minority school board representative on there right now, and the minorities don't want her.
Well, that's one of the issues that they're having at this one workshop, and I have some footage on it where they're discussing the litigation is kind of it's it's like a big salad. They're mixing the litigation with the workshop work group, because the work group's not really speaking for itself. The attorneys are, but
Well, and that's another thing. So if you go and read in that report, that editorial by Susan Mahill, she has linked every year they give a status report on where they are. And so if you go 2 meetings without making progress, you can go to mediation. And there is the possibility that may occur here real soon, because I think they've gone 3 meetings and there hasn't been any progress. But here's the thing. It's in that you read those status reports and it gives you the members of the committee or the work group. It shows them very clearly. And if you notice, no lawyers are members.
no, the attorneys
Because they
are not
never
on
have
there.
been. And, they like to use their lawyer to run the meeting for them. You got to understand. And she's pretty efficient, I have to admit. But the reality of it is you're supposed to, this is the opportunity for the sides to come together and work out real quickly. This should have been done. The original 2018 plan was supposed to last 3 years, and this should have been done already. It's now, we're in our 7th year.
Yeah, it's too many years. I want to play that little clip where the attorney is explaining what's going on with the litigation in the work group. Do
Sure.
you mind?
No, go right ahead.
All right, let's do that.
Yay or nay?
Let's find it.
19th.
Here it is. Here it
If
is.
you want it to be that way, then we'll have to take it, or you will have to take it up with Judge Williams. But we're not going to proceed.
So the audience understands this is an attorney at the work group speaking to our attorney who's trying to bring it to a level playing field where we are complying with the court order that it's a work group member that is asking the questions.
In the manner that you've requested.
Correct. And
Are you telling us that we're too illiterate to be able to get in a meeting with our attorneys and have them put forth those questions on our behalf?
And I'm very angry right now.
So
Mr.
am I.
Brown, Mr. Brown, your statement to me was uncalled for.
You
It was
interjected
insulting.
yourself in this. Never mind.
Mr. Brown, may I finish? Your statement to me was uncalled for.
What was that?
Your question to me, if I thought you were too illiterate to speak with your attorneys,
I
was
was speaking to your
Sir,
group, not you.
you specific, sir. This is being recorded. You
I
asked.
know that.
You asked me. Please let me finish. For all the talk about not looking to be to create fights, that sort of rhetoric is hurtful to the relationship. We are not in the process of coming up with indicators. We are in the process of evaluating compliance. That is decidedly a work group function. And if we have a disagreement, if the members of the work group, my clients, who have instructed me to try to return the work group's work to the work group, if there's a disagreement between the district's members of the work group and the NAACP members of the work group, then maybe the work group isn't functioning.
Be fine, Matt. You have November 19th, and Rosario will be off the group.
Let me.
So I wanted to show that because that was October 28th, and you heard Michonne talking about removing Rosario before Dyer had his first day on the dais to go and have
Yes.
a work group meeting. So is that a quid pro quo?
It's definitely a political favor. He was adamant. I mean, it's uncalled for, actually. It was uncalled for, but for some reason, they have it in for Jackie Rosario. I don't know why. I don't understand it. I think they've been told a lot of crap by other people in the community who have turned on her. And it just filled their heads with whatever. Michonne Green ran against Jackie Rosario in 2018. Mm-hmm. She lost Gifford District 18 by 16 points against her. Okay. I don't know if she has animosity about that election loss. I don't know. All I know is you see the animosity there. Jackie's a very process person. And, if you have any history of watching these desegregation order work group meetings, because they're all public on YouTube, you will see how Matt Carson, other than scheduling meetings, he's pretty much sits back. And I've always wondered why he did that, because their lawyers speak all the time. And then I realized, well, he's just following the rules, and they're not. It's that simple. The rules are the rules. The judge is in Miami. The group is up here. So the group is doing all this stuff against what the judge is not going to sit around and watch YouTube on Friday night in Indian River County to see what's happening at the deseg order or groups. Not doing it.
And in the meantime, they're spending all of our taxpayer money.
Well, yeah. I mean, for us, it's what, $105,000 to $150,000 annually. I think Jennifer Pippin, who you'll have on in a moment, will bring up the idea. The reality of it is she did a study on it. It over 8 years averaged over $105,000. It's now up to about $150,000. I mean, last year in 2023, the law firm that Mr. Carson comes from asked for another $100,000, as part of their service fees for the district. And it pretty much is going to this case. So There you are.
Well, Thomas, I want to thank you for coming on as a commentator. Could you tell everybody how to get a hold of you and how to subscribe to Sunshine Journal? And we'll see you in a little bit.
Yeah, we have the Sunshine Journal page on Facebook and also on X, Thomas Augustus Sunshine Journal on X at Thomas Augustus, and sunshinejournal.com. Actually, Substack / the Sunshine Journal. That's how you get the Substack. You can subscribe for free or paid, so I can continue to write, or I'm going to go get another job.
Well, thank you so much, Thomas, for joining us, and we look forward to more of your commentary in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too. All right, everybody. Welcome back to the board report. If you're just joining us, we're about to invite Jennifer Pippin and Kevin McDonald to the platform, and they will be talking about school board issues. So let's bring them on board. Oh, hi, Jennifer.
Hi, Joanne. How you doing?
Doing great. Hi, Kevin. How are you doing?
Joanne. I'm great.
Yes, I'm so glad to have you guys. This is going to be a very informative. Can you help me out here?
Informative
Podcast for our community. And you heard us talking about the desegregation order and everything that's going on. What else can you tell us about that, Jennifer?
Yeah, so like Thomas said with the desegregation order, it's very messy because it's gone back so long. And, I didn't understand it myself. I'm like, we are, desegregated. We don't have these issues. Like he mentioned, the children are voting both races for prom queen, prom king, homecoming courts. You look at the top 10 for the past couple of years at both of our high schools, and they have, mixed races, biracial. So, for me, from the outside looking in as a parent, I know this isn't an issue because any child can take any class. Any child can be involved in any sport activity or club. None of it is segregated by race, actually, except for the African American Student Council at Vero Beach High School and Sebastian River High School. They only allow African American students to join. We did have some Caucasian students try to join, and they would not allow them to. So quite honestly, that is the only club to my knowledge in the school district of Indian River County that is segregated by race. But everything else, any child can take AP classes, honors classes, dual enrollment, IB, anything like that. So for me as a parent, it really bothers me that, like Thomas said, $150,000 a year on average plus goes to this, desegregation order when our schools are, indeed segregated, except for that African American Student Council.
Yeah. How do you, can you give us any feedback on your opinion, Kevin, on that? Kevin McDonald.
Yes, I'll echo what you said. It's very, very true. You look back through the years of the material, and Thomas is quite the expert on it, so he gives a great summary. But you look back through the years, and you see that there was a break for a long period of time that nobody cared, and then suddenly they cared again. It wasn't because we had a segregation issue. So you have to ask yourself, why did they come back? Why did they resurrect not only a dead case, but a dead judge? And there's some different motivations. So when you get to 2018, when you finally go through this order, now we have supposedly a work group who's supposed to work on evaluating and determining and measuring progress towards these goals. That they fight tooth and nail. As you saw in your clip, they're very adversarial towards any idea of making some progress. And Jackie Rosario is a very sharp, well-prepared, hardworking, and intelligent member of the board, and she does her homework and she knows what she's doing. And my belief is that's one of the major reasons that they don't want her there. The secondary reason is that Peggy, I don't think I speak too far out of the box in saying that Peggy's primary voting bloc and the NAACP and the teachers union, and she works them and they work her very well. So she's going to do their bidding. She has done their bidding. And so this is all about, you can't know what's in somebody's head. So all you can do is observe. But when you observe, you realize that they're not about solving something. If anything, they're about not solving something. And they're not about making progress. In fact, since Jackie was appointed to this board, they refused to even meet for 7 months. And they only met twice, I think it was in late September. They met by a Zoom call because a lot of pressure came on them earlier in September due to some of the actions that we took.
Right. So, and they used to meet in person. So that's a big change too. I think that when you meet face to face and you're talking about a 60-year desegregation order, it's a lot more personable and it's a lot more, you see their emotions when you're sitting across the table from them rather than a Zoom call and able to turn your camera off or turn your camera on or mute yourself or not mute yourself and, have those hard conversations. So I think that it's changed a lot too in the dynamics of what's happened because they're no longer meeting in person and it's just on screen.
All right. And I think that ultimately, as Thomas said, they're not making progress. So this probably goes back to court. They probably get a court order to go to arbitration and they go in and arbitrate. One of the difficulties is what is the probability that judge or most any other judge, they tend to be liberal, particularly as you go south. What's the chance of any of them wanting to stick their finger in the light socket? They don't want to make a decision. They don't want to be the reason that they've done it this way is they don't want to be responsible for the outcome because they don't want to turn the NAACP down or do something that upsets them because it's politically difficult.
Right. Sure. And it definitely seems like the gap demands is specifically the expectations don't take into account the individual needs of each student, let alone each student's individual interests, abilities, and the outside forces that influence the decisions that the students make or how the students are able to access these activities. I mean, they talk about acceleration courses and you don't reach unitary status until you're within either 4 points of each in the gap of a white student. And to me, when I was reading through it, I'm like, it sounds very racist to me, and it shouldn't. It shouldn't be white student. What about all those Puerto Rican people that are white? They're still minorities, but you're going to classify them with this race. Why not just say students? And I'm wondering, how are we ever going to reach unitary status if we don't have a judge that's going to take up the case? Because as you saw how contentious that video was, and there's more footage on it, and they're already, pinpointing Jackie Rosario, like, we want her out, so we're going to get her out.
Well, and you make a couple of good points. Not only are some of these objectives scholastically based, but a lot of them are based on after school activities or AP classes or dual enrollment.
Right.
So they have turned the Black for their own purposes. They've turned the Black as well as white students into statistics and data.
Yeah.
And they're just using it. Now, what happens if 15% of the Black students do not want to be dual enrolled, do not want to participate in particular after school activities, do not want to be in AP classes? It's purely communist, because it doesn't matter what they want. It doesn't matter what's good for them. It doesn't matter who they are, what they are. They're basically saying that these Black children, these African-American children, must be stack ranked against white children.
Yeah,
And
that's what it
and
feels
so
like.
That's what it is. It's saying you've got to achieve this for them to achieve it in mass. They have to achieve it through individuals. So ultimately, that means some African-American students are going to have to submit to and be involved in things that they have no interest in.
Exactly.
And some white students who are interested in that are ultimately going to need to be stepped back or excluded so that the numbers work. And the saddest thing is they don't mind either the first scenario nor the second scenario. They don't mind that the Black students are put upon, nor that the white students are pressured or disadvantaged. I mean, I grew up. I'm 70 years old. Virtually my entire life has been about white people taking a step aside for Black people. And we did it without complaining or anything, because we understood that, given the history that happened long before I was born, that they might need help. I'm driving down the highway this afternoon. I stopped because the person trying to pull in wasn't going to get in if me or somebody didn't stop and let them in. So in the 60s, in the 70s, in the 80s, our perspective was, yes, it's the right thing to do to stop and let them in. But now it's gone well past that, and they pull out, they stop traffic, they want all their friends to come out, and they never let traffic go. They don't want white people. They don't want them second in line. They really don't want them in line, ultimately. And it's sad to think that.
It is, because the sad thing is that it's not helping the students.
No.
They're not providing the students with equal educational resources and opportunities. What they're doing is they're saying, well, we don't care what your ability is. We want you to be put in this program because we want you to be equally as smart as that person. And the only way they're going to be able to do that is to dumb down the program.
Right. And it's smart.
You know,
in order to do that Black student has to be measured against that white student. It can't be about improving that Black student. It has to be that Black student has to be constantly measured against that white student.
Which is promoting racism.
Yeah.
That's promoting desegregation right there. They're separating you by your skin color.
Mm-hmm. And what's even crazy too is not many people realize our discipline policy for the entire district. For example, if a white student gets into a fight with an African-American student, the white student is disciplined at the school level, and the African-American student is disciplined at the district level, because they have to meet that desegregation order. And if they've already had too many African-American students disciplined, they will not discipline in the African American student to be able to meet that desegregation order. So again, that is something that is just based on race. If they were both fighting, or if they were both vaping, or if they were both having, a problem, with something that they were doing in the bathroom that was inappropriate, they're dividing the discipline by either school district or, the school, and it depends on their race. And, another thing that I never seen, what about the biracial children? Like, what, you never see that. So it's like, where do they kind of fit in, and how would they get disciplined? So it's so messy. And, like you guys both said, the children are the ones that suffer for this, because, for example, if they get in a fight, one of them could be in class the next day, and then the next one's getting, detention or in school suspension for the next 3 days for fighting. And it's all based on race.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just no accountability, no equal accountability. They're not looking at you as a person. They're just separating you by your skin color, and it's really DEI on steroids.
Mhm.
That's
Well,
right.
and ultimately, so what's the ultimate impact? They are in through this process and through this approach, they are um, seeking to continue racial division, is seeking to continue desegregation,
Yes.
segregation. They have a black only after school club. That's segregation. The fact that they can
Mhm.
choose it rather than force it makes it seem good, but it's segregation of them, and it's discrimination against anyone who would like to be in that group and can't be in that group. So they set a very, not only set a bad example, but they really reveal that that their morals and principles are not aligned at all with the whole concept of desegregation, and the concept of unity, and the concept of race not being a factor, because they've gotten, yeah,
individual uniqueness. Everybody is a unique person.
they've achieved the problem, and this happened not just with them. Every organization, after a while, they achieve their goal, and then where do they go? Well, they've got jobs, they've got responsibilities, they've got power, they've got identity in it. So they have to continue past having accomplished their goal. Now, what is the American Cancer Society going to do when cancer is cured? Well, either have to keep cancer from being cured, or they're going to have to extend themselves in some way, because organizations do not say victory. We're going to close the organization up. They just go after the next thing. And so it's not unnatural that they're doing this, but it is not un-racist to be doing them.
Yeah, I see in our comments, Sandra's saying DEI is gone come January 20th. I hope so, but as long as this desegregation order with the NAACP continues, we've got DEI in the school in some form or another. And leading to that, Jennifer, with our new school board, and the way it already started, what can parents look forward to for the rest of the year? I know a lot of positive things have happened, but it still seems like we're going to have our work cut out for us.
Sure. So unfortunately, and I could say this with Kevin on here, we lost our school board majority, and we are from the top down, from President Trump down, red, 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 conservative, common sense, except for our school board. So it was so wonderful having Kevin on our board from April through October. We got so many amazing policies passed, so many wonderful resolutions like the parental rights resolution and things like that. So we have to work harder now. We're back to pre-Kevin McDonald days, with the the board majority not being in alignment with the majority of the community. And we could do a whole segment on what happened with the elections and things like that. But just in short, you look at the amount of people that showed up to the primaries and the amount of people that showed up to the general election. And I honestly had people texting me at the general elections. They're standing there getting ready to poll, and they're like, where is school board? School board, I must have the wrong ballot. So we have to do a better job educating people, which is why this board report is amazing, to really get people out and vote. So, through the end of the year, kids just went back to school on Wednesday. We're going to have graduations coming up. We are going to have a lot of testing coming up. Our new science curriculum adoption process is going. At the next superintendent workshop, they're talking about the calendar and all of these really important things. And the superintendent workshops are kind of the meat and potatoes of what's going on. And then they kind of summarize it at the board meeting. And that's where you can have citizen comments. So the best thing for parents, grandparents, and community members to do is just be engaged, watch your board report, and get involved. And if there's something that you can help with or volunteer with, or you see an issue, good, bad, or indifferent, get involved, because it really does make a difference for children.
Yep.
Nice. Yeah. Oh, I wanted to ask you, there was a book, Perfectly Normal. Where is that book now? Is it ever coming out, or is it gone for good?
Sure. So It's Perfectly Normal is not in any school in the school district of Indian River County. That book was actually referred to and banned. This book that was recently removed by the school board in May of 2024 that referred children as young as 4 years old to go read It's Perfectly Normal. And for people who don't know, it was basically cartoon figures of men and women having sexual relations, men and men having sexual relations. It taught children how to masturbate with a pillow, things like that. That is absolutely inappropriate. So again, thank goodness for Kevin McDonald for being on the side of removing that book from children and in schools. It was moved to the public library. So if parents want to check it out there, they can. And no longer in the hands of children. And we, with Moms for Liberty, are replacing those books with good books, common sense books, good, factual history, great series for children to read in place of all these books that have been removed, like It's Perfectly Normal and Ban This Book.
Have either one of you heard any news on the classical school? What's moving forward with that?
I defer to Kevin on that. He's the expert.
I'm not since I left. I know that in our final meetings, and Jackie, who's very on top of this, I sort of didn't quite catch it fully at the time, but they were backing away from the idea of using the word classical in the name of the school. And I didn't really catch the nuances of what political gyrations are going on, but basically it very much seems like they are trying to pull away from having classical education as part of that endeavor. And I think the next weeks, months will tell. If they do that, if I was a parent, I would grab my kids and head for the doors. That would be an extremely, extremely bad signal to send to the community that says they know it's popular. I just talked today with a friend about a new school that's got a K through 2, and they're looking to expand and build a building and with a classical curriculum. It's very popular. It's very successful. It teaches things, all the things that apparently the school district doesn't want to have happen, apparently, or they would utilize it. They were very enthusiastic about it. My opponent actually ran, stating he was in favor of a classical school. So we'll see if what he says in campaign trail is what he follows through on. So far, that hasn't been the case, but hopefully it will be. But they lost, I think it's 400 some students this last year. Mm-hmm. When I was meeting with
that's
Dr.
a lot
Moore,
of students.
it's a lot of students, having lost 1,650 over the prior 4 years. So now they're down to 2,000. They've got 2 schools, Pelican and the other one up in that area, were at half capacity. So part of the reason of doing this was to utilize the capacity of those empty schools. If they can't make this come together, the school board's going to be faced with the challenge of selling off one or more of those buildings as parents grab their children, head for the hills, and evacuate the public school system. So this is very much. I don't want to say it's an existential threat, because they'll continue to exist. It's paid for by taxes. They can tax people, but they're going to lose students. There's going to be pressure to reduce the taxes, and there's hopefully going to be pressure to make the education system good and solid, and not political, not racial, and not atheist skewed religion as well.
You know, I see Dr. Moore as being a real competitive person, and with him just receiving accolades this year, he's going to want to keep moving forward. So I think if parents, I would suggest parents to reach out to the school district and let them know how they feel about keeping that word classical in there and moving forward with a classical school, because a lot of parents need choice. That's why they lost 400 what plus students, because parents want something else. And I think Dr. Moore is competitive enough to key into that and want to make sure if he hears from enough parents, he's going to want to favor what the parents are, because private schools are going to be opening up. People will prefer to pay for school rather than go to free school if their kids are going to get a better education. So either he's going to get on the playing game and do what parents want, or schools are not going to continue to progress, because people are starting to talk now, even homeschooling parents, on how they can collaborate to make homeschooling a bigger homeschool, something parents can rely on. And parents are pretty powerful, as you can see. Moms for Liberty, when they set their mind to it, they will make it happen. So either he's going to win over the parents or he's going to lose them, and that's not going to be a good thing for him.
Sure. Anytime that there's an issue, some local media call it culture issues. I call them real issues, because, the parents, grandparents, and community members find these issues. Every time that there is an issue, more people leave the school system. And, with school choice now and the money following the backpack through legislation in 2023, parents aren't having to pay that entire tuition, to go to a private school, another classical school, a religious school, anything like that. They're actually able to afford to send their children where they feel that is best for their family and their child. I mean, I know some families that have one in public school, one in private school, one homeschool, just because, of these, money following the backpack. It makes a huge difference, and looking at the superintendent workshop, coming up here on Monday, they're reviewing the science adoption that the school district is going to have for the next 5 years. And, the couple of programs that were approved by the Department of Education, I was on the committee as a parent volunteer, and there is so much information in there riddled about COVID, and vaccination is the only way to eradicate disease. There's information just liberal on climate change, on so many things, and so much disinformation in there that we've challenged it. And we actually have a Zoom meeting with the Department of Education next week because of this. And you'll probably see it come out in the local news that Moms for Liberty culture issue, but they only had one view of these things, and we don't need to indoctrinate children. We need to educate children.
That's right.
I will say that Dr. Moore has a lot of great skills, and he's an impressive person in many ways. I actually wrote a very glowing letter for him to help get him selected as the superintendent of the year. And I think the potential weak spot is his cultural political outlook, and his personal perspective, but also the board's. And if the board is pressing him in that direction, he's going to lean in the direction he's being pressed. Now, I don't know how much of that he personally aligns with or doesn't align with. If he aligns with it personally, he's going to lean much easier and lean much further. But that's neither here nor there. Parents want a balanced and an intelligent and a culturally appropriate implementation of the school system. And they don't want a lot of this DEI stuff. We voted that out. They don't want a lot of this political nuance to be woven into what they're being taught. And since COVID happened, a lot of parents saw what was happening. They didn't realize, they may not know, but now they see what's happening. And Moms for Liberty is one of the responses to that, is that they realize we have to either take control of the school district again, or we have to get our children out. And so the next several months, particularly with the classical school launch, if they don't follow through with that, if they don't follow through with some of the other things, like I say, parents are going to have to grab their kids and run. I heard, in fact, you mentioned one of the options I was discussing today. There's at least one school in Vero. It has a tuition of 95.
Oh, you froze on us.
Uh-oh. He started talking about money.
Are sort of hybrids that may fit. Money and time are the two big things. If people are willing to homeschool, they might. If they can afford to go to another school, they will.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, did you lose me?
Yeah, we lost you for a little bit.
Did I drop off?
Uh-oh.
No, you didn't drop off. You just froze.
Oh, and what I had to say was really terrific too.
It's always terrific when you talk. Well, let's warm up this segment with Jennifer. I know there are a few dates to remember coming up, so I wrote them down. So for everybody that's listening, January 15th is Report Card Day. February 11th is high school conference night. February 12th is middle school conference, and February 13th is elementary school conference. And then February 14th and 17th, parents, there's no school. And on February 19th, the Parent Advisory Council is from 6 to 7 p.m. So I hope that was informative for you guys. So we're going to bring everybody up on the panel. As you can see, if you just joined us, welcome to the board report. And it's open to questions for all of our panel commentators.
Hey, Joanne, and one of the important things is in mid-February, the school system will be assessing enrollment for the second half of the year, and we may see a reduction again. You mentioned something about Dr. Moore earlier. I agree with you wholeheartedly. He is a very competitive person. Mm-hmm. He understands, that enrollment is the issue. He understands it thoroughly. I think in terms of this classical school name and this other stuff, I think we'll come around on that and get the board to come around on that, because if you don't delineate yourself as a school system marketing different school choices, if you don't delineate those choices, you're going to lose. The parents will vote with their feet. The biggest reduction in students in our school system was middle school, coming into middle school. So the fifth grade graduation, they lost 186 students post fifth grade graduation, and they were coming out of Beachland and the Magnets. And those are your brains, a lot of them. And a lot of those students, and he knows it, he understands it, he realizes there's a middle school that's being developed and already implemented in Fellsmere that he talked about, where they're starting 6 through 8 and they're working backwards. They're doing it, and they're going to build a K-8.
Right, they're doing dual language in that school from the top down.
That's amazing stuff right there.
They're already doing the dual language in Fellsmere Elementary, and there was a big push to get the district to expand it into middle school, because these kids, my daughter's one of them, who's been in the program since its inception for her kindergarten year, and she'll be going into fifth next year. So after her fifth year, she gets a little stamp on her diploma that certifies her as dual lingual. So they want to expand it, because the program isn't just helping little white girls who don't know Spanish, but it's helping the Spanish population out here actually learn the language they hear broken spoken at home. And that was one big thing. I'm sorry to derail this, but you hit on that dual language. And Kevin, you were on the board when I sent an email in favor of the program and the principal out there, Mr. E. Surprisingly, the support from the superintendent, and I see Peggy Jones out there quite a bit, but the dual language program is just immaculate. And they said it's done no harm to the kids' testing scores. In fact, the kids in the program are testing ahead of schedule from the kids not in the dual language program. So I think it's great.
Yeah, and it makes sense to have that dual language continue out there in Fellsmere, because Fellsmere has a lot of Latin people living out there, a lot of immigrant housing out there, and there's a lot of Spanish out there. Let's put it that way.
80%.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you
that
go
could
out there, you
change.
need to speak
Yeah.
Spanish.
That could change though. And the one thing, I'm glad we're starting the board report and hopefully expanding it to other taxing boards, is the Fellsmere, for instance, is considering doubling their population in the next 5 years by adding another 1,000 housing units. And as we all know, 1,000 housing units is average 2,000 more vehicles on the road, possibly 4,000 more people to 5,000 more people in your local infrastructure, and
Get
the
rid of
rest of
those
the
dirt roads.
and the rest of the county has no say about it because it's nobody pays attention. It's a city limits thing, and if you talk to a county commissioner who is kind of should be involved a little bit or aware of county provided infrastructure, they have no clue. We talked to one during the last election season, had no idea what the plans were going on for Fellsmere, and it's pretty alarming, that they're in charge of our,
And they
first
live there?
responders. Well, I didn't talk to that one. That one I don't think we talked to us.
What did you say, Thomas? I didn't hear that.
I said, and they live there?
Yeah. We
Well,
didn't get a chance to talk to
She
Susan
probably
Adams.
knows.
Susan
She's very-
Adams lives there.
Yeah, she's a pretty smart lady.
We didn't get a chance to talk to her. She wasn't up for election, but we did talk to Commissioner Joe,
Flesher?
right?
Flesher.
Flesher, yeah. Was it Flesher?
Joe Ehrman. He was the one who was
Oh,
up for
Joe
election.
Ehrman. Okay.
Yeah, he had no clue what Fellsmere was going to do and what it was going to do to the roads and the first responders. And
Oh, yeah, I remember that now.
yeah. But as far as Dr. Moore goes, I don't know the guy. Thomas, you sat down and talked to him. Kevin, you've worked with him. Jennifer, you definitely have opinion on him. And my first impression isn't a fond one, but then again, I can't judge a book by its cover. We know that because the covers can be eluding, that's for sure. But like you alluded to, his competitive spirit, I don't doubt he wants to do good for our district. And like Thomas or Kevin might have said, if he's pushed if the board and the people are pushing him and pressing him in a direction, I think he'll do the work of the people, but it's just a matter of majority, who is the majority pressing them. So our next elections are even more critical because we have Dr. Pasca, right? And Jackie Rosario will be up for re-election in the next cycle, right?
And Terry Barenborg.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Terry.
Mhm.
The board.
That's right, the trifecta.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Dr. Moore, so he has 5 bosses essentially. So the school board are his bosses. So, he has to, listen and, feel out all 5 of his board members, and that's what he brings to the superintendent workshop, and that's how he governs the district with the input from those 5 people. So that's why it's so important to have 5 like-minded, conservative, putting children and families first, not politics, not political places like that. Do the best for all students and families in schools, and look big picture, and what we can do to make it better. And there's always going to be issues, and there's always going to be problems, and you have to deal with them, not push them to the side. Perfect example is the desegregation order.
Yeah.
Jennifer, that's an interesting.
Well,
I just want to say one thing about this. I agree. The political direction of the board is going to usually stir a superintendent. He saw something early in the election with David Dyer. Then David Dyer wins. And one of the things that he did, which I found to be appalling, was to promote that email about the vote before he was to be seated. I thought that was very underhanded because it disrupted the board unity. After a very contentious election, it made it worse. And, granted, he could go up to the line and play the legal card very, very close to the edge and get away with it. But in terms of ethics and for the sake of the unity of the board, That was one of the most bullish things I've ever seen. And I find Dr. Moore will do, in his competitive way, will do these things from time to time. And it's more costly than it is beneficial.
Yeah, it's definitely not worthy of a raise or a salary close to that of the commander of chief of the United States.
Well,
I mean, this guy makes a lot of money.
He
And
makes a lot.
as taxpayers, we paid a lot of money for that title of superintendent of the year. I mean, Christ, what's he going to pull off next? I mean, after all the
could be national superintendent of the year.
I mean, is that worth $450,000?
Well, he's getting 239 plus a lot of bennies that bring him up to about 286. So
I thought it was
that's a
close
lot
to
of money.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
mean,
let's just be real.
Right,
Yeah.
but you have to realize it is. I mean, it is one of the biggest jobs in the county. So, and he does the parts of what he does. He does well. He does very well. The parts where we're concerned are we'll have to see. I mean, that email was a great example of an opportunity to show some character, some strength, but instead to pass on that email. He knows the sunshine laws. He knows that that's inappropriate. He knows that the email was wrong, but him passing that on with some excuses was inappropriate. So he decided you could speculate why did he do it, but the two most obvious ones are to pander to the incoming school board member, which is probably the most likely, or the other is that he wanted to see the same result achieved as the email wanted, and so and possibly both. He wanted to see.
And if you go back to that comment by Mershon Green in that meeting on October 28th about how Rosario would be gone November 19th, when that email went out, my suspicion, not provable, but my suspicion is that whole process was already in play.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
Well, if you remember back then, and I called her on it, in the as we were working through the 2130 policy vote, and through the discussion, Terry Berenborg, the chair, said out loud, just before the vote, she said, "It is my hope that whatever the outcome, that will be unanimous in that outcome." A minute and a half later, we voted unanimously to move forward with the removal of that policy. On the following meeting, I made the comment. I said, "Well, we had a unanimous agreement at the last meeting," and she said, "There's no unanimous agreement. I never agreed unanimously to that. I never would agree to that." So I gave her benefit of the doubt that maybe she forgot what came out of her mouth. We're all getting old. But I did send the video back to her to show her that she was wrong about that. She did the same trick on my last board meeting and outright lied because she read from her notes and then later claimed that she didn't read what she read. And the video shows both that she was reading from her notes and she read exactly what she said. And the rest of the story, I moved based on those words. I made that motion. And then she decided that she had done it wrong and she wasn't going to get the political outcome that she wanted. And she, tried to bully and intimidate. And we finally just gave up because it didn't hurt us to let her have what she wanted, but she was very dishonest about it, which is a bad thing to see in public. So I think that those kinds of things influence the superintendent. Now, I'll throw an aside in, having been on a couple of different boards, the CEO and the superintendent, whoever that person is, they really want to run the show. They really don't like having 5 bosses. So a lot of what they do
Who does?
is a little bit of smoke, a little bit of mirrors, a little bit of deflection, a little bit of hiding under the covers what's going on. He's no different than anyone else, but that's really the undercurrent that goes on in the actual operation. So the board, no matter who they are and their intention, it's often very difficult to maintain visibility and control and drive the results that you've already directed that person to do.
Yeah, you know what? I know we're running up on an hour here, and I don't want to hold everybody all night because part of this is to keep it as a recap. But I wanted to first thank you guys for coming on and sharing this insight with us, and hopefully you guys will come back. Our plan is the Friday after workshops and the Friday after business meetings, right?
Yes, yes.
I think there's a workshop next week. Can
Monday.
Monday.
On the 13th, yes.
can we look forward to seeing you guys on Friday?
Yeah, I think
The 17th. That's
Yeah,
that's the
I think-
17th, guys.
Yeah, I think we have the 31st set up
We
for the
do.
next
Okay.
meeting, which will be after the superintendent workshop and the business meeting to kind of give everybody a recap. So yeah, the
Okay.
superintendent workshop's kind of light on Monday.
I was just going to
There's
say that.
nothing-
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say nothing super controversial. There's a couple vague discussion items that don't have what they call backup in board docs. They don't have any information, so it's kind of hard to talk about something you don't have,
Right.
the full scope of
Okay.
it. But it is kind of light. So I think if we stick with the 31st, if that still works for everybody,
Yes,
we can cover
absolutely.
the superintendent workshop and the business meeting, and do a recap on that and have a little bit
And
more meat and
that's
potatoes.
perfect.
Yeah, the other thing too is that on January 23rd is the IRC NAACP work group,
Okay.
the next one.
Yeah, that's perfect because I believe next week we are going to have CJ from the Spark Free Press
And Sheila Matthews at 6:00.
and they're going to give us an update on the hospital district. So I'm looking forward to that one too. I mean, I say I'm looking forward to it. I mean, it's not like thrilling stuff going on here, but you guys bring valuable information to people like me. I had no idea this crap was going on in our county, our little supposedly red county tucked away in conservative Florida, until I saw Jennifer saying some bad words on Facebook, and it kind of led me to meet all you guys, and I'm thrilled to death to be working with Joanne and you guys in Indian River Connection.
For all those of you who are wondering, she wasn't saying them; she was reading them.
Right, yes, but it
Save
led
that-
me down a
save that
path.
for
You
another
know,
meeting.
Potty mouth.
if she wasn't bold enough to do that, I wouldn't have met John Carapi at TGI Now, or Joanne Binford, who was running for office at the time, and same with you, Thomas. And I wouldn't have met you, Jen, and Kevin. I wouldn't have had the pleasure of meeting you either. So I'm glad we're able to put this together, and we're going to push it like crazy and hope we get some traction and we inform some more parents and taxpayers, because it affects us all. Like I said, I didn't know this was happening in our little county, but it was still an important issue for me, because what's happening in New Jersey, specifically today, like lately in the news, I mean, that's still the youth of our nation, and it's critical across the nation. And thank God for Moms for Liberty, who has blown up, whose birthplace is here in Indian River and Brevard County, and do you know the statistics on Moms for Liberty, Jen? The numbers?
Sure, where we're at now. So since the Title IX issue came about and we won the case, and it's still in the news, we're at over 300,000 members. We are in 49 states, and we have almost 400 chapters, which is 400 counties across the United States. And so that's kind of the latest numbers as of January 1. But we also have so many chapter chairs that are now state representatives, House representatives, senators, city council, so many elected officials across the country. It's just absolutely outstanding, on top of what we advocate for a school board. We've just grown in so much. It's our 4-year anniversary this month, and we're just again advocating for parental rights and children, and we've just grown so much over the past 4 years.
Yeah,
That's
Jennifer,
awesome.
that was just so brave of you to step up. I remember when you were first coming out and getting up there. It's always very nerve-wracking when you got to get up there and you've got to produce the facts. And it started all here in our small little town of less than 170,000 people. Amazing.
It is. I mean, who would have thought it went from COVID protocols and schools to being shut down to getting to read pornography at school board meetings from, elementary, middle, and high schools. I mean, it's just, it's amazing. It's amazing where, you thought that everything was taken care of and everybody had children's best interests at hand. And, it's simply
If
not
there is
that.
a controversial book that's in a school, this person knows, and
We
she
will
knows
hear
what the
about
book's
it.
about. I call her the PhD in porn. and the bottom line is because I can't read it. I got asked to read at Brevard one time, and I'm telling you, I read some of the most disgusting stuff, and the whole time I'm just churning and cringing inside. And she's just an encyclopedia about what needs to be done in terms of getting rid of this stuff, and also on all school issues. It's not just this one. She's got a PhD in the issues that matter for common sense parents, and that's the beautiful thing about what she does.
Yeah, yeah.
I appreciate that. No, but it takes all of us, everybody on here, all the parents, grandparents, community members. They bring the issues to us, and we just bring them to light. We look behind the education curtain, and we bring out these culture issues. But they're actual real issues that are going on, and we can do something about it, or we can do nothing about it. Which again, I'm very happy to be a part of this board report, and I appreciate you guys. And this is wonderful for the community. Thank you so much.
Where can people stay informed and keep up to date with you, Jen?
Sure. So we're on momsforliberty.org. That's our national site. You can click on Indian River County. It'll bring you to our Facebook page and our website. You can join our local or public Facebook group. It's momsforliberty.org/Indian River. And all of our information's on there. You can get it on our website or our Facebook page. But the easiest way to get in touch with us, www.momsforliberty.org, and click Indian River County.
Awesome.
And Thomas, tell them how to get a hold of your Substack.
Substack, just go on substack.com, search at the Sunshine Journal. At the Sunshine Journal, take you right there. Sign up, free subscription or paid, and help us get through doing the continuing of doing this, because it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you,
for coming
Joanne.
on.
Thank you.
Yeah. And
Thank
all
you.
of you guys that joined us today, thank you for joining us on the board report. And remember to look us up also on Indian River Connections, and you could hook up to all of our podcasts, TGI Now, To the Point Podcast, and Binford Chronicles. And have a good evening. Thank you again for joining us.
Thank you.
Bye, y'all.